The Adventure of Mount Everest. Once upon a time, in a land where the clouds touched the mountains and the winds whispered secrets of ancient times, there was a majestic peak known as Mount Everest. This towering giant, dressed in a snowy cloak, stood tall and proud, beckoning the bravest souls to scale its heights. In a quaint village nestled in the valleys below, lived a young and adventurous boy named Tenzing. Tenzing had always been fascinated by tales of daring explorers and the mysteries that lay beyond the clouds. Every night, he would sit by the fire with his family, listening to stories of great heroes who attempted to conquer the mighty Everest. One starry night, as Tenzing gazed up at the towering peak, he made a decision. "One day, I will climb Mount Everest," he declared to his family. His father, a wise and gentle man, nodded with a smile. "It is a noble dream, my son, but remember, the mountain is not just a test of strength, but of spirit and heart." Years passed, and Tenzing grew into a strong and skilled mountaineer. He met a courageous explorer named Edmund, who shared his dream of conquering Everest. Together, they planned their journey, gathering a team of brave souls who were ready to face the challenges ahead. As the sun rose on a crisp spring morning, Tenzing, Edmund, and their team set off on their grand adventure. The villagers cheered and waved, their hearts filled with hope and pride. The path was steep and treacherous, winding through lush forests and across roaring rivers. Tenzing and Edmund led the way, their spirits undaunted by the arduous journey. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the team reached the base camp of Mount Everest. The air was thin and cold, and the mountain loomed above them, majestic and intimidating. They set up their tents and gathered around a crackling fire. "Tomorrow, we begin our ascent," Edmund announced, his eyes gleaming with determination. "We must be strong and look out for one another. Remember, we climb not just for ourselves, but for all those who have dared to dream." The next day, the team began their climb. The path was steep and icy, and the winds howled like wild spirits. They trudged through deep snow, their breaths coming in frosty puffs. Tenzing led the way with his keen sense of the mountain, guiding his friends with wisdom and care. As they climbed higher, the air grew thinner, making each step a struggle. They reached a place known as the Khumbu Icefall, a maze of towering ice pillars and deep crevasses. The team moved carefully, using ladders to cross the perilous gaps. Tenzing's heart raced as he guided Edmund across a particularly wobbly bridge of ice. "Hold on tight, Edmund," Tenzing called out, his voice steady despite the danger. "We must trust each other and the mountain." With great effort and teamwork, they crossed the icefall and continued their ascent. They reached the western Kium, a vast, flat valley surrounded by towering peaks. It was a place of breathtaking beauty, but the journey was far from over. The team set up camp and rested, their spirits bolstered by their progress. As they climbed higher, they faced new challenges. The Lot's Face, a steep wall of ice and rock, tested their strength and resolve. They hammered their ice axes into the frozen wall, pulling themselves up inch by inch. The wind whipped around them, and the cold bit into their skin, but they pressed on, their hearts filled with a burning desire to reach the summit. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of fiery colors, Tenzing and Edmund sat together, looking out over the vast expanse below. The stars began to twinkle in the clear night sky, and a sense of awe filled their hearts. "Tomorrow, we face the final challenge," Edmund said softly. "The South Col and the Hillary Step. It will be the hardest part of our journey." Tenzing nodded, his eyes reflecting the determination in Edmund's. "We have come so far, my friend. We will conquer this mountain, not just for ourselves, but for all those who dream of reaching the stars." As the first light of dawn kissed the snowy peaks, Tenzing and Edmund prepared for the final leg of their journey. They donned their warmest clothes and checked their gear, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Together with their team, they climbed towards the South Col, a windswept plateau high above the clouds. The air was thin, and each step felt like a battle, but they pushed on, their spirits unbroken. They reached the South Col and set up their final camp, the summit tantalizingly close. As night fell, they huddled in their tents, gathering their strength for the final push. The mountain seemed to hold its breath, as if it too awaited the dawn of a new day. Tenzing and Edmund lay awake, their minds filled with thoughts of the journey and the dream that brought them here. When the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple, they knew it was time. With their team by their side, Tenzing and Edmund began the final ascent, their hearts filled with hope and determination. As the first rays of the sun began to touch the highest peaks, Tenzing and Edmund set out on the final leg of their journey. The cold was biting, and the air was so thin it felt like they were breathing through straws. But their spirits were high, and the thought of reaching the summit drove them forward. The first challenge of the day was the daunting South Col. This high, wind-swept plateau was notorious for its fierce winds and frigid temperatures. The team moved carefully, each step a battle against the elements. But Tenzing and Edmund led with unwavering determination, encouraging their companions with every step. "Stay close, and remember to breathe slowly," Tenzing advised, his voice muffled by the thick scarf around his face. "We are almost there." The next challenge was the treacherous Hillary Step, a nearly vertical rock face that stood like a final guardian to the summit. Tenzing and Edmund approached it with a mixture of awe and resolve. They had heard stories of this formidable obstacle, but seeing it up close was something entirely different. "Are you ready, my friend?" Edmund asked, looking at Tenzing with a determined smile. "More than ever," Tenzing replied, gripping his ice axe tightly. With great effort and teamwork, they began the climb. Tenzing went first, finding small footholds and secure places to anchor their ropes. Edmund followed, his strength and agility a perfect match to Tenzing's guidance. Slowly but surely, they made their way up the Hillary Step, their breaths coming in labored gasps. At last, they pulled themselves over the final edge and stood on a narrow ridge, the summit of Mount Everest just a short climb away. Their hearts pounded with excitement and anticipation as they took those final steps together. As they reached the summit, a wave of emotion swept over them. They stood on the highest point on Earth, looking out over a sea of clouds and distant peaks. The world stretched out below them, a breathtaking panorama of beauty and wonder. "We did it, Tenzing!" Edmund exclaimed, tears of joy in his eyes. "We really did it!" Tenzing smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "Yes, Edmund, we have climbed the mountain, and in doing so, we have proven that dreams can become reality." They planted their flags in the snow, a symbol of their achievement and the indomitable human spirit. Tenzing raised a prayer flag, letting it flutter in the wind, a tribute to the mountain and the spirits that watched over them. As they stood there, taking in the view, Tenzing thought of his village and his family. He thought of the stories he had heard as a child and the dreams that had led him to this moment. He knew that their journey would inspire others to pursue their dreams, no matter how impossible they might seem. The descent was just as challenging as the ascent, but the team's spirits were high. They moved carefully, supporting one another and sharing in the joy of their achievement. When they finally reached the base camp, they were greeted with cheers and warm embraces. Word of their success spread quickly, and soon the whole world knew of their incredible feat. Tenzing and Edmund became heroes, their story a testament to courage, determination, and the power of dreams. Back in the village, Tenzing's family and friends celebrated his return. They gathered around the fire, listening with wide eyes as Tenzing and Edmund recounted their adventure. The children were especially captivated, their imaginations sparked by the tale of the mighty Everest. And so the story of Tenzing and Edmund's climb became a cherished legend, passed down through generations. It was a story of bravery and friendship, of challenges faced and dreams fulfilled. It reminded everyone that no matter how high the mountain, with courage and determination, anything is possible. The end.